before October the 7th, Yemen was known to be the worst international humanitarian crisis.
And the poorest country in the world, I think, as well.
Yeah, the poorest country in the world, with absolutely no infrastructure to help with mental health services. People were dying of starvation, diarrhoea. They're not in a situation to defend themselves against powers like the United States and the United Kingdom. And although I'm not saying, yes, just let the Houthi terrorists away with it, what I will say, though, is when we hear things like, we just need to get rid of this terrorist group, that's what we heard about Hamas, and with 30,000 dead Palestinians.
That's what we heard about the Taliban and ISIS.
Yeah, I mean, a million dead Iraqis and Afghanistanians. When does it end? At what point do we say, hold on a second, you can't even make sure that children...
I'm really sorry for coming back at you with such a blunt instrument, but if someone shoots at our ships, they can expect to be shot back at. I mean, isn't that almost separate from the broader context?
Well, I understand where you're coming from, yes, and of course they obviously knew there was going to be a response and a reaction, but what I would argue at the moment is we are not in a position to be throwing our weight about in the Middle East.
You're the second caller to say that, because you're referring to the concept of a moral high ground, aren't you, and the absurdity of claiming that we have any hold upon it.
I think when you look back at our involvement, even just from the end of World War I, we have caused so much frustration between communities in the Middle East, that to even sit there and continuously back Israel and back the devastation of life, knowing for a fact that the minute that something affects us, we are going to go and drop bombs. And I'm curious to find out, are people concerned that maybe there are new cars held up in that ship, or have we got Tories concerned that their profits are being sunk to the bottom of the Red Sea?
Again, powerful, but not necessarily a complete dismissal of the argument that they are firing missiles at those ships, and therefore you can expect to have things fired back, regardless of what's on the ships. Lucy, I don't think that's weaselly. I don't think that's weaselly of me. I think that's valid.
No, of course, and that's what I said as well. Is there is no way I can come at you and say, do you know what, I've got all the answers.